This video is going to be a look at the Ravens' final drive, their failed attempt to tie the game or maybe even go for two if they score a touchdown. You'll see there's opportunities to make plays on this drive and, incredible wasted opportunity if you ask me. Once the Ravens get a first and goal or first and 10 from the 17. We'll talk about personnel changes and one of the things that's happened in the last 2 or 3 years with Greg Roman and our offensive structure is that we're substituting personnel so often. It's usually one or two people, 22 personnel one play, 21 personnel the next play, maybe 12, maybe 13, which is, a rarely used one. We used it more against the Bengals on Sunday night than I was anticipating. To be honest with you, that actually can cause the game to be slowed down. That can cause you to add another 6 or 8 seconds for a player to get on the field, a player to get off. You can't have 12 in the huddle, right? You see the quarterback step out often. Now, having said all that, that's no excuse for what happened with 1:17 or a minute left. To me, it was unconscionable and a structural error and a tactical mistake, a misread of the situation. There's times in a race or a game or a fight or whatever the hell it is where you've got to step on the pedal. And I thought as the Ravens reached the 17-yard line, after the completion of J.K. Dobbins for 11 yards, in my opinion, that was the time to step on the gas. I understand what the strategy was, trying to use as much time as possible, not leave the Bengals time. I understand that. We had 2 timeouts left. An incomplete pass on 1st and 10 from the 17 or even 2nd and 10 from the 17 was not going to destroy the drive, but wasting a ton of time and putting additional pressure on your players, particularly when you have a backup quarterback on the field, even though he did some really good things on Sunday night. Tyler Huntley's a backup quarterback. He has started, I think, 9 games in the last 2 years now, so that's great for his career. He's got a lot of film out there for people to evaluate and look at. Who is he? What can he do? How could he help us, the Ravens, or some other team, potentially? Point being, we wasted time and I think added additional pressure to our players who were on the field, as opposed to, I'm going to be honest with you, I think we should have gone hurry up from the 17, kept the same group on the field, and I'll show you why. We're going to look at some of the film here. I have my notes to refer to on the side, so you may hear me clicking back and forth. 1st and 10 from the 46, I believe. We're in 13 personnel, first play of the drive. This is after the punt return for like 16, 15 yards by Prochet up the left sideline. Thought there was even potential for a little bit of even bigger return, but there was a defender there. I had this labeled as empty originally. Look, this is 13 personnel. So what we've done is 22 personnel, excuse me. We've got Ricard out wide, and they've walked a linebacker out. Watkins is in the slot with Likely. Watch the coverage that you get from Bates and the other safety, which is Von Bell. Von Bell's rolling to center field. It's a check to the backside to Andrews. In my opinion, the matchup that I wanted, besides Andrews against Eli Apple's a good one, is this one right here. Watkins against CTB. I like, Watkins is setting up here, something vertical. Of course, you got Bell going into the middle of the field, so that's going to play a role too. But if you're going to get a linebacker out here and presumably also get man with this safety, the Bengals don't like to separate generally their safeties from that too high structure. They did in this case by walking the linebacker out. Why? Because we're in 22 personnel. We've got the fullback here. We've kept their base personnel on the field. Mike Hilton is not on the field. In my opinion, I wanted Watkins one-on-one against CTB, and that formation right there looked like a good opportunity. 2nd and 4 from about the 40. Not a bad play call, in my opinion, from the standpoint of running it away from Ricard. Ricard is going here. Dobbins is crossing face. We're reading Sam Hubbard. But it's a terrible play call because of what Sam Hubbard has done against the option the last 2 years. Since week 7 of 2007, since they showed up to Baltimore last year, you know what Sam Hubbard does on 98% of occasions when he's unblocked and there's some kind of running back either to his side or back here in the pistol, crossing face of the quarterback. You know what he does? He runs down the line. We knew this. We knew that he would do this. We're pulling Moses. We're pulling Linderbaum. They ran plays down from behind. We missed the block with Likely, don't get me wrong. Simultaneous to that, great job by Jesse Bates, played his ass off. I don't know what mistakes he made. Maybe watching more film, I will see them. In my opinion, if you're going to run this play, as dumb as this sounds, because Hubbard's going to run it down from behind, as dumb as this sounds to me, is you've got to kick him out. You got to run split zone. You got to basically run, everybody do the same thing, except likely run down the line or at a severe angle, which is weird from where he's lined up, and try to kick Hubbard out. Not allow him to chase it. Just give it to JK. Just give it to him. We're not getting the same. It's drawn up on a whiteboard somewhere or in a playbook somewhere. And you're going to read that end, and likely he's going to loop around. Yes, likely reads it correctly. He misses the block. In my opinion, give the damn ball to JK. Kick out Hubbard. Don't let him chase it from the backside. Ends up being a 2-yard gain for Huntley. Great job by Jesse Bates, like I said. All right, sets up a 3rd and 2. Now, this is a great play call. I love this play call. It's twin slot or pro slot, excuse me. And we're lining the running back up on our left. Very similar to JK's touchdown earlier in the game. It's the same concept. Lining him up on the left and then running him out into the flats on the right, forcing an inside linebacker because of the coverages that the Bengals generally play. Now, this looks like man with CTB motion across, Von Bell also opening up. Because of the coverages they play, they leave the linebackers, one-on-one with running backs at times. But who doesn't? Simultaneous to that, man, if the Bengals were not so aware, and you're going to see some pre-snap communication that's brilliant between Mike Hilton and Sam Hubbard. Blown coverage. I mean, if you're able to get any time at all, which Huntley is told prior to this play, we're getting the ball out in the flats. It's 3rd and 2. We want to get the first down to Justice Hill. All right, so not blaming Huntley. Crediting the Bengals for creating this situation where where Hilton blitzes off the edge because of the motion away, blitzes off the edge. If he's not blitzing off the edge, Hubbard is going to be trying to pressure Huntley. So there still could be pressure. My point is, there is an absolute blown coverage here by the Bengals. Opportunity for the Ravens to go downfield. If Huntley was, able to work through some type of progression, I don't think this is a progression play. This is a design play. Brilliant design, getting the linebacker soloed up on the running back who lines up on the left, goes out into the flats on the right, with this basically just operating as a clear-out route, in my opinion, and the motion by Isabella pulling CTB away from the actual point of attack, where the play was intended to go. Ends up being ruled short, 4th and 1, 4th and inches. QB power, actually it's super power because we got Gus leading, so we're playing 11 on 11. You're playing true 11 on 11 here. And you get the first down, 2-yard gain. At this point, watching this play, you tell me what you think. I would like to see this run from the 1. Something getting us going downhill and getting multiple lead blockers. Look at the work that Falele and Moses give. I think it's B.J. Hill. And then superpower, you're getting Ricard and the pulling guard. And then also Gus on the lead. That's why I call it superpower. You got this wall that's built. 4th and inches. Coming downhill on you. Picking up the first down. Not a huge fan of using that play all the time because I feel like we've been predictable. That's the play that we used to beat the Chiefs. To close out the Chiefs last year. Remember, we went forward on 4th, and it was to the left, however. It's the same concept. Line the quarterback up in the gun, use the tailback or whoever it is as a lead blocker, as a fullback, and then have Ricard pull along with the guard. Superpower. Multiple guys leading, get out on the edge. So cool concept on 4th and inches. Then we go empty. We're very schizophrenic, if you ask me, in this situation. I don't know the personnel from here. We'll see the All-22 here in a moment. This is what Collinsworth identified, I thought. He was kind of on point, to be honest with you. In my opinion, you're going to see off screen when you get the All-22, and then here in a moment. There is a defender over here. This ball should already be out if you're reading it properly with Huntley and Andrews. And when you get the All-22, you'll see what I mean, and hopefully I'll be able to do a good job of explaining it. As it is, it ends up being incomplete. Damn near a pick by Logan Wilson, who just played incredible, if you ask me. All right, so here we are. We're going to go empty. Andrews is running this patented route that he's run hundreds of times before in this offense in the last 2 or 3 years. And he's got a read, all right? So he's going to sit this down somewhere in this area because there's a defender in the curl, the high curl, waiting on him right here. Mike Hilton. This is how intelligent they are. You got Watkins running a clear out, Robinson essentially running a clear out. In my opinion, is Andrews open? Well, yes, he's open. He's not open at the point when the ball is arriving to Dobbins, because Hilton is defending the rest of this route, because that's what Andrews normally runs. When I tell you guys that's how intelligent the Bengals defense is, that's what I mean. Hilton, the nickel defender on the opposite side of the field from Andrews, understood because of this alignment that you were probably getting some type of route like that. It's not going to be mesh. It's not going to be, we generally don't just run him vertical, although we did against the Atlanta Falcons, against one of their better corners, don't get me wrong. This is a great job by their defense of recognizing our formation. And in my opinion, Huntley should have already read that this was going to be available to Andrews, that Andrews would sit it down, that Andrews would sit this down. And that's what he's trying to read. He's just a little too late in it. Watkins and Robinson, in my opinion, are just clear out routes. They're just dummy routes. Ricard down in the flats down here. All right, so next play we subbed because we've got Ricard off the field. So let me make sure I've got the time here. This is 2nd and 10. Should be a minute 30 somewhere in that area, maybe a minute and 40 left. 2nd and 10 from the 33, 12 personnel, which for us is basically 11 because Likely and Andrews are essentially receivers. Slant backside to Robinson. I thought this was the guy to attack in the pass game. Not that he's not a good player. CTB is a good player, don't get me wrong. Really good coming forward against the run. I think he's got a bright future, but in my opinion, he was the guy to attack in the pass game downfield. In this case, we did it with the slant, and we got the penalty. So we had Dobbins, Likely, Andrews, Prochet, and Robinson on the field. So again, I called it 12 personnel. Very next play, we've subbed on, and we're in a hurry. And this is my first note that says, like, what the hell why are we so late? It's 1st and 10 from the 28, a minute and 17 left. And we'll go pro twins again, but Ricard is out there out wide. Now you're like, well, why is it's not helpful Ricard being out there out wide? Actually, yes, it is. Here's why. Because we have 2 tight ends on the field, Oliver and Andrews, 2 running backs, Dobbins and Ricard. So look at what the Bengals have. They got their 2 inside linebackers. Mike Hilton is not on the field. You got Apple, you got CTB, 2 corners, and 2 safeties. This is their base 3-4. Now the Bengals are multiple. They can play a 4-3. They can play a 3-4. So it's not like they only have 1 base. They have 2. They actually have 3 because they play a hell of a lot of nickel. My point is we've manipulated them into keeping 5 rush guys on the field. JK breaks through. And because they rushed 5, there's only 6 defenders here. They're lucky that we don't get some type of actual space with JK. In this case, their defenders are really good at understanding leverage. Pratt stays to the outside of JK. Wilson pursues from the inside. Still is a 11-yard gain, I believe. You guys correct me if I'm wrong in the comments section. Switching from 12 to 22 personnel. Now here, in my opinion, is where we should have just kept the personnel on the field. I understand what we're trying to do. Someone on Twitter, I forget who it was. You can see we've subbed here, by the way. Watkins is on. Robinson is off. Oliver and Andrews stayed on. Ricard stayed on. JK stayed on. So we subbed here. This is when I think Collinsworth started talking about their huddling, their subbing. The previous play, I think, was ran at 117. I think the ball was snapped at 117. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I very well could be. In my opinion, we should have just kept the same personnel on the field, because we'd be keeping the Bengals defense on the field. That's the point that I don't think our guys were considering. I don't think our coaches were thinking about. We would have kept their same personnel on the field. As it is, I think you've got Hilton here on the field now, and you can see they've taken out 1 of those 5 D linemen that they had on the field, or 3-4, whatever you want to call it. You got Bates, middle of the field. Von Bell there left, our right, along with CTB, Apple, and Hilton. So we've allowed them to sub. In my opinion, they're more comfortable in this nickel look. Now, this is first and... Look, why are we taking so much time? Poor, job, if you ask me, of handling that situation. I thought it took the initiative away from our team. And what I mean when I say that is it took the initiative that we had. We had initiative after that catch by J.K. You have to identify that. I'm certainly not right all the time when I've been on the field or on the sideline. Plenty of times I've been wrong. You have to have a sense of the moment. And in my opinion, that was the moment for someone on the headset to say, let's attack right now. Now, I'm not saying we had to score. We were trying, in my opinion, to use clock and not score for the next 20, 25 seconds. But then on the very next play here, we try to score, basically. I think there's some real lack of ability to react. Let me put it that way. In our offensive staff, and you guys heard my reaction video last night, so you know what I think in terms of hiring, firing, all of those things. I think as bad as that decision, well, it's not a bad decision to waste some time, but wasting 15, 18 seconds, if you wanted to do that, fine. I wouldn't have wanted to waste, seems to me we wasted like 30 or something like that, or 34. And then this decision, I think, is even worse. Going to the draw play, in my opinion, was a huge mistake. We lost some initiative on the previous play. We lost all of it here. Now, I did say this today to a coaching friend of mine. It's also possible that this play, under center, 21 personnel draw, has been our best play this year in terms of yards per play. It's got to be up there, top 2 or 3. It is, along with QB counter read and QB power read from Lamar. But this is not the time to do it, in my opinion. The timestamp on this, I believe, is 2nd and 10 from the 17. 29 seconds left. That's what I have as this play being run. So we went from 117 at the 28. 2 plays later, 29 seconds. I think that's a tremendous wasted opportunity and really defines this season, puts an exclamation point on this season. Offensively, we end up with a hold on Kevin Zeitler. Who the hell would have guessed that? And then now here we are in 2nd and 20, and I just don't understand why Watkins is not on the field, regardless of what he said last week, what he meant to say, and all that shit. Like, we don't need Ricard on the field here. We just don't. It's not something that's going to help us. There is no one who is available for the football here. Not a huge fan of the design. I understand that we're running a wheel. Robinson is running this. Andrews is running the delayed wheel up the field. We've tried to run the wheel multiple times against them in the last couple of weeks. We only hit one. That was the one where Prochet stepped out of bounds. I just don't know why we're not giving ourselves an option back here to say, we have an option back here in terms of Robinson, Watkins, whatever against. Maybe I just don't see it right. Maybe I don't see it accurately as it looked like a matchup that we could win. But last week we hit 2 big pass plays on him, 1-on-1 up the sideline. That was 2nd and 20, I believe. The 3rd and 20. Now we've got Ricard off the field. I think we've got Prochet, Hill, Watkins in the game. And if we had time, there is an opportunity to, possibly throw the ball over top of this safety here. I'm not sure. I guess that maybe that's Prochet. But Ronnie's beat. I mean, Ronnie's beat. We've got, at this point, when I say lost initiative, I mean our players are coming downhill after the completion to JK for 11 yards. I'm not talking about just running the ball, but we're coming downhill. We're attacking. We have them on the back foot. We have a personnel grouping that works for us. And then we end up switching groupings 3 times between then and now, and we missed the opportunity. Ronnie Stanley did not play his best game. Trey Hendrickson, in this case, I think beats him with an in-and-out move. And were we to have time to possibly throw this football, Von Bell is playing Watkins, and we do have an opportunity to possibly throw this thing into the end zone. But as it stands, there's no time to do so on 3rd and 20. Real CF, if you ask me, the way that it was handled. The 4th and 20 ends up being tipped. Great job by Huntley just to make it possible to even give the guys an opportunity, even give Robinson, Andrews a chance. Because look at the pressure that we've got here. And again, I don't think we're doing a good job handling it with Ronnie against Hendrickson. Hendrickson's able to just pin his ears back. In my opinion, that's a matchup I thought that we had to win and we could win, and we certainly did not. And then the ball gets tipped, and you'll see the end zone angle here in a moment, but I don't think you get a real clear view of it. Ball is tipped, and Prochet is maybe 3-4 inches from making an unbelievable play that would have given us an opportunity. But again, great job by Huntley just to get this thing off. Certainly more Bengals defenders there than Ravens guys. You can see Prochet's, a little off center. The ball gets deflected. He's got to kind of try to dive off his fingertips. Anatomy of a failed final drive. Poor job, I thought, by our coaches. Not recognizing the moment, not recognizing the situation. Here we are, 1st and 10 from the 17. We've got a personnel grouping on the field, Ricard, that kept their base personnel on. Let's attack them. And if you ask me, that looks like a situation where we're calling one play at a time instead of sometimes thinking of 2 in a row. Maybe it would have been a good idea to get a timeout at a certain point and have 2 plays lined up in a row. That seems like a basic thing for an NFL offense. Now, one comment about that late game situation. The failures earlier in the game in short yardage situations influence our perspective and our opinion on it. And they should. You've got the 3rd and 1 run with Andrews from like maybe the Bengals 30 that failed. I think we got the first down on the next play. What was that? We got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. We're trying to be cute. We're trying to trick them. The QB superpower that Huntley got, I showed it to you on this drive, I think. So good. Wonderful. We converted it. The throwback screen to Andrews down inside the 5. It didn't work. We lost the yard. Regardless of what I think of it, you think of it, whatever, it did not work. The QB sneak, the failed QB sneak that Logan Wilson smacks away and Sam Hubbard takes to the house. Huntley clearly made a mistake trying to leap. It looks like if he stays low, those guys are pushing. It looks like we're in. So Huntley clearly made a mistake. I still think, to me, we're a little far away to run the sneak, but it looks like it could have worked. And then Gus and Dobbins not getting the ball in some of those situations. Our judgment as fans of the final drive is influenced by those short yardage failures. It should be. It's an indication that structurally we're not capable of making decisions in those high-pressure situations. That's when certain guys thrive. Love him or hate him, Andy Reid has made a living. Eric Bieniemy, since those two have hooked up, obviously they've kind of taken things to a different level. They do a great job in those situations, generally. The Buffalo Bills also do a great job in those situations here recently. Doug Peterson with the Jaguars. I understand that they were very fortunate to win that football game against the Chargers this past week. Look at the short yardage calls that he has his players execute, and they do. Some of them are anomalies. Some of them are base plays, but normally there's a specific reason why he's doing it. Ours seem very random. Ours do not seem to attack a certain part of the defense, and that's my problem with them. Whether we run the ball with Gus or JK, whether we do a, quote, trick play, whether we do a quarterback sneak where Tyler Huntley leaps and he's not supposed to, we do not have a plan that is specific to the opponent in that situation, at least to me. If we do, I'm not the one who's smart enough to figure it out, and that's why that final drive pisses us off so much, even though the short yardage situations do not appear related to that final drive. In my opinion, they are. We do not have a plan for when we get 11 yards on to JK down to the 17, and we need a touchdown. Not a field goal, we need a touchdown. We can't waste 30 seconds or whatever it was and let the Bengals get another defensive group on the field. In my opinion, we should have had the same group on the field, not let the Bengals sub, hurry up, and had a second play available or something that Tyler Huntley can go to. But he's a backup quarterback. I understand that that's a high expectation level. I feel like we put him at risk in some of the decisions that we made with play calls earlier in the game. So why not do it then? Hey, I could be wrong. That's just my impression of that final drive, where the moment we lost the initiative was when we huddled, when we subbed Sammy Watkins in, who, hey, I said I wanted him on the field. But in that moment, someone's got to recognize it and say, let's go now. Keep him on, let's go now. And sometimes it's got to be somebody who shouldn't be talking. Sometimes it's got to be a person who's willing to be the bad guy and say, let's go now. No, coach, let's go now. and then put that coach on the spot. I mean, yeah, but the lines of communication are sometimes closed off, meaning you only have 2 or 3 people on the headset. There might be a fourth or a fifth, but they're just listening. They're just listening for the play call. They probably don't even have speaking permission in the mic. They're just listening for the play call to document it. There's really probably only 2 guys, maybe 3, that are communicating it in. And in my opinion, clearly the Ravens got to move in another direction offensively. It might be time to look at, as crazy as this sounds, some college guys. And here's why. Everyone in college either is no huddle or can do it flawlessly, seamlessly. And they've got multiple guys signaling in the plays from the sideline. Am I saying that professional level coaches or personnel should be responsible for some of that? Yes. Because when you get to these situations, end of the game, if that's what you do 40% of the time, or that's what you do 60% of the time, you're more prepared for it. And that's going to be my final thought on the Ravens' final drive. 24-17 loss to the Bengals, tough to handle, but me personally, I'll be rooting for the Bengals next week just like I did last year because, I like AFC North teams succeeding, and I think that this game I said it before in my preview, I think this game propels the winner into a situation where they're battle-tested, and I think Sunday Night Football's result kind of proves that. Appreciate you guys' time. If you enjoy this content and you would like to see this video get more views, please consider sharing a link on social media to help increase its reach.